Uh, this is from Lori in outside. She said, outside of Chicago, what are 3 things I can do so candidates don't ghost me? So real short question, real to the point. And again, by the way, if you're here live, you can put a question in the Q&A box. If you're here live, you can put a question in the Q&A box if you want to follow up to one of the questions you asked, or even follow up to somebody's question or something I put in here. So what are 3 things I can do so candidates don't ghost me? From Lori outside Chicago. It all starts when they say, hello, this is Bob, right? You're doing an initial presentation, however you're presenting to a candidate, whether it's a discovery to see if they're open to making a change, or you're presenting an opportunity. And the yeses start, yes, I'm open, yes, and you start doing your assessment. You start finding out if they've got the right fit. You start positioning the opportunity. So once you've done all the things about finding out what their desires are, well, actually, let me back up a step. And I just know this from training all the recruiters I've trained. A lot of recruiters don't spend a lot of time with really uncovering what a candidate wants in the next step of their career. And they don't spend a lot of time uncovering what their current frustrations are. There's no such thing as a perfect job or a perfect opportunity. Everyone has complaints about where they work. It's my company. I have complaints about where I work. Everyone has complaints about where they work. Okay. Part of the art of this, to not have candidates ghost you and to take them through the whole process, is to uncover exactly, specifically, and precisely what those are, and what are the consequences if they stay there. You want them to future pace their frustrations. So if nothing changes, Bob, a year from now, tell me how you think, tell me what you think about your current organization, your current opportunity. Mike, if it's a year from now, I'm just another year where I haven't progressed in my career. How so? Say more. It's really about developing that. Most people don't understand why people don't call us back. And the reason people don't call you back is they're not motivated to call you back. And why aren't they motivated to call you back is sometimes they're just not in a real, there's no real urgency for them to change jobs, or they don't like your opportunity, or a combination of all those. And I think a lot of times, because candidates are so hard to find, recruiters do a horrible job of uncovering motivation to make a change. So one, this, like I said, it starts in the first phone call, is what are what are the things you want in your next step in your career? And then invest time specifically. Why is that important to you? What will that allow for you in your life that you don't have now? What are the frustrations? And then you back it in with what are the frustrations with your current opportunity? And you find out what the gap is between their vision for themselves, and you find out from where they're at right now. Those 2 areas have to be fully developed. And you might think, well, the candidate already knows all that, and they should be motivated. Honestly, most of us go through life, raising kids, doing multiple things, volunteering, going to work. These things sit in the back of your brain. When you bring them forward is when they have an impact. When you bring them forward is when they have an impact. So then I can say, all right, Bob, and let's assume there's alignment between your opportunity and Bob's aspirations. Here's what's going to happen, Bob. I'm going to present you. I've got a good relationship with this client. I'm 90% certain they're going to want to talk to you. Here's how the process is going to roll out. Now, some of the stuff we can do via text, email, coordinating interviews, but I'm going to want to talk to you before every interview. Why? Because I know this hiring manager, and I want to set you up to win. I want you to set you up so that at each step in the process, you're in decision whether you want to move forward or not, versus the client being in decision. I want you to wow them, and I think you can for these reasons. Here's what's going to happen. You don't return my calls, you're out. You don't return my calls, you're out. And most recruiters won't do that. Because when somebody doesn't return my calls, I've been doing this a long time. Here's what I know. You're not real interested. And as tough as this market is, and Bob, you don't need me. You can get a job on your own. I totally respect that, but you're not going to get my job if you blow me off. is there anything I need to do or be aware of, Bob, over the next few weeks where it might be difficult for you to get back to me within 24 hours of me leaving you a message? And I flesh that out. You know what? I'm going to be in Antarctica at a spot where there's only satellite service, and I don't have a satellite phone from these dates, this date to this date. I mean, I'm just giving you obscure stuff. I'm going to take a cruise in Europe, and I want to be over the summer, and for that week, I'm going to be out of pocket. So anything that happens between these two dates, I'm out. Give them the full opportunity to tell you when they're not available. And then I go for their commitment. So here's the commitment, Bob. I lead with mine. Bob, I'm going to return any call, text, email in kind within 24 hours. And I'm asking you to make that same commitment in return. Is that fair? Yes. Then I say, is that fair? Number one. And then I go, two, do I have your commitment? Yes. Here's why it's important then, once we get started in the process, let's say you go out in the interview. I need to talk to you before I talk to the client. And here's why that's important to you. They never care why it's important to you as a recruiter. Remember that. Always put it in their best interest. When the client calls me, he's going to say, what did Bob think? I really like Bob. What did he think? And if I say, I haven't talked to Bob yet, I've done this again 20 years. Here's what I've heard from clients on a number of times. Then he's probably not that interested. And their brain will actually shift from an ego mind standpoint. Their brain will actually shift into finding flaws in your background, preparing for the worst. Does that happen every time? No. But it's like what I like to tell a candidate. So they understand the psychology of the whole interview process. It's a dating process. If you start dating somebody and both of you are really excited, one of you doesn't get back to you, ghosting, that's where it came from. Or that movie, He's Really Not That Into You. You have to convey that to the candidate. And if you want to have a big biller desk, is, look, if I don't hear back from you, I'm going to give you a warning, and I'm going to call the client, and I'm going to go, I haven't heard from him. And our agreement was, if I didn't hear from him, that told me he wasn't interested, and let's pull him from the process. And I'm okay, Mr. and Ms. Candidate, or this is Bob, so it's a Mr. Bob, I'm okay if you don't want to go to the next interview. I'm okay. I'm not going to try to change your mind. If you don't, after the first interview, you don't like it, you don't want to move forward, I'm okay. I simply want to ask why and what was missing for you, so that in future opportunities, I can fine tune that alignment. Does that make sense, Bob? So really what I found is, and then here's why it's important we talk after the interview. Here's what's going to happen at the offer stage. You're going to have 24 hours, or you're not going to have any time. At the point of an offer, you're not going to have any time to think about it. So our job, this process is going to take 3 to 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, whatever your cycle time is. This process is going to take about 3 weeks. Our job together, Bob, over the next 3 weeks is to make sure you get all the information you need to make a decision that's a hell yes or a hell no. So each step of the way, I'm going to want to know what's missing. I'm going to want to know where your thoughts are. I want to know what else you're interviewing on. And if the best opportunity that comes across your desk is not for me, that's totally okay, because you've got to live with it. But again, I need to know all that data. And then at the end of the process, they're going to make an offer, and they're going to want a decision on that day. Now, some of you might think that's a little unrealistic. Well, that's a mindset issue. And there's ways to negotiate around that, by the way, but it's always in an exchange. Well, I'm going to want to see it in writing. Okay, if I get it in writing the same day, we'll get it to you in email, in Adobe or whatever. We'll get it to you the same day. And you have by the way, have your client set up for all this. Because I want to think about it is, I want to explore other opportunities. And you're telling them this is what sometimes I would say it like this. This is the start of the journey. You've got 3 weeks to think about it. There's no thing at the end, you're going to have collected all the data, and you're going to know yes or no. And I'm okay with a no. I love a yes. I'm okay with a no. I love a decision. I hate maybes. Maybes mean no to me. See, the reason recruiters have trouble with candidates is they don't set boundaries early on for all the things they're going to do. And it's a business decision on your part whether you're going to work with a person who just says, get me in front of them and I'll let you know. So I'm not going to say don't do it. I just never did it. I just never did it because I just found tire kickers. Would they accept offers once in a while? Sure. Life's too short. I know my metrics. For every 15 candidates I talk to, one goes on an interview. For every 7.5 interviews I arrange, or actually 6.54 interviews we arrange, we make a placement. So I know I'm 15 conversations away from another candidate. And baked into my 15 to 1 was me disqualifying candidates that wouldn't agree to my process. So that was already baked into the cake. I had very few, in very tight economies, very few turn downs. And almost, I think at a $3 million year, we probably had 2 or 3 counters taken. And I agree it is tougher now. I do agree that it is tougher now. But I'm just putting out there that if you do this, while you won't eliminate ghosting, you'll mitigate. Then you have a business decision. What direction do you go?